Okay, welcome back. In this video we begin to review finding intercepts of graphs. So as an example here, consider this graph here, and we review what intercepts first are. So labeling our x and y axes. X-intercepts are those points where the graph crosses the x-axis. So if I go to the graph here, I can mark the points where the graph crosses the x-axis. Those would be x-intercepts. And we always write those of the form, whatever number that is for the x value, comma 0. The y value on x-intercepts is always 0. Y-intercepts are places where the graph crosses the y, or the vertical axis. In this case we just have the single one there. And y-intercepts are always of the form 0, whatever number that happens to be. Okay, so that's just a basic quick overview of what intercepts are. Now using this information, if we have an equation, we can talk about finding the x and y-intercepts. For the x-intercept, since it's always of the form some number 0, we know the y value is 0. So given the equation, if we want to find the x-intercept, we know the y value is 0. So we replace y with 0 and then solve the equation for x. And in like manner, we do the same thing for y. We know the x value is always 0, so we replace the x value with 0 to figure out what y value would correspond to that. That would be the y-intercept. And so let's consider an example. Here we're given the equation y equals x squared minus 6x minus 16. We want to find our intercepts. So let's say we begin by finding our x-intercept. You can find either one first, it doesn't matter. So we plug in 0 for y, and that gives us an equation to solve. Well, this should be an equation that you're pretty well equipped now to solve. We need to go through by factoring. So we factor as x plus 2, x minus 8. And then by our zero factor property, one of those two factors would be 0. So we go through that process and we find out that x is negative 2 or x is 8. And then last thing we want to do is write down our intercepts as points. So we'd have the point negative 2, 0 and the point 8, 0. Moving on, we want to find the y-intercept. We go into the equation, replace the x values with 0, and solve for y. In this case, it just really requires us to do a little bit of simplifying. And we get that y is equal to negative 16. So our y-intercept is the point 0, negative 16. And we can kind of confirm everything that we have here. If we look at this picture, we can see that the places where the graph crosses the x-axis are at negative 2, 0 and at 8, 0. And the point where it crosses the y-axis is down there at 0, negative 16. In our upcoming video, we're going to look at some examples of using the intercepts to graph some equations.